Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. And we are still out here on location at the Ripken Complex in Aberdeen, Maryland for the Baseball for All Nationals tournament. So you're going to hear some background noise, but that's just the way it goes. I'm now joined by Jennifer Hammond. Jennifer, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Jennifer, I will give you a chance to give your resume because it's so big. But we've connected on Facebook years ago when my old organization I was with really started jumping into female sports and that sort of thing, and we just stayed in touch. You were always one to reach out and get back to me and answer questions, and I appreciate that. And that's why when I knew we were going to be here, I was like, hey, are you going to be there? I figured you would, so thank you so much. But you coach for DC girls baseball, number one, but then there's a whole slew of, you've been running back and forth this whole weekend and everything else. I'll let you talk a little bit about all the places you're coaching and take it away.
Sure. Well, I have laughed. I used to say that I would live on a baseball field if I could, and here I am at this point in my life, literally almost living on a baseball field. Been very lucky to be working with DC Girls Baseball for the last 5 years. And when we came on board with that, it was a really small organization. It's snowballed. I think we had 5 different teams here this weekend. They've been bouncing between their games. This year I had 12U. Been coaching with their 19U, with their 14s. Originally started with their 11s. So I've seen kind of the whole spectrum. I've also been coaching high school baseball. I was corrected the other day and someone said to me high school boys baseball, but I refer to it as high school baseball in the hopes that we continue to see more and more girls participating. So coaching high school boys baseball for the last 7 seasons, and then the Alexandria Aces Collegiate summer team, which is based out of the Ripken Collegiate Summer League. So I've been bouncing back and forth this week as we wrap up our regular season and coming back up here to Aberdeen to catch our girls, coach them up, and make sure they have a good time up here at the BFA.
Yeah, cool. You were pretty fortunate to be able to have to coach over at the stadium on Monday against Team Israel.
Yes,
that scheduling worked out pretty good for you.
That worked out perfectly. I was given an opportunity. The gentleman I'm coaching with, Chris Brissett, was one of the coaches for the Collegiate League All-Stars, and they were taking on Team Israel in their pre-Olympic run. And when I asked him questions about the game, he said, oh yeah, definitely come up coach with me. And I was trying to figure out the logistics, and then I realized it was right across the street from BFA. So fortunately that worked out. I was able to be in the dugout and see our Collegiate All-Stars take on Team Israel.
Yeah,
that
cool.
was an experience.
Yeah, just tell me a little bit about that. I mean, international baseball is literally what you're coaching there. What was that like?
It was a phenomenal environment in terms of getting to see our college boys take on a number of former professional players. They were doing a couple of different things because it's a warm-up tour to the Olympics. So in the odd-numbered innings, they were starting with runners on first and second, just to give their guys some work. But other than that, it was still baseball, right? So felt like a minor league game, which you would expect. And of course, our players stepped up to the occasion. They actually won 9-3 against Team Israel. But just really neat to see them get to experience that situation, being big crowds, a lot of anticipation for that event, and some of our players did really well.
Cool.
So it was fun to watch them succeed.
Cool. So tell me a little bit about just your journey through baseball, your playing days, and then we'll talk a little bit more about coaching.
Sure. So I grew up loving baseball, wanting to play. I played softball, and it wasn't an obvious choice at that point. That's just kind of what we did. I got to a point where I planned to play in college. I had walked on in the fall, just a Division III school. Wanted to play, wanted to compete, and discovered an all-women's baseball league. And so I started going home on the weekends to play baseball. Stopped playing fast pitch for the school, and just have been playing baseball ever since with the women's league. We have a tournament team that's been traveling, so I've had the opportunity to meet amazing people from all over the country and beyond. And it's fun to see some of them now coaching, and this network just continues to grow. So it's been really fun to have an extended baseball family. And I continue to play when I can. I'm certainly playing a lot less now.
Right.
But I still get out there on weekends, play with our women's team, play a little bit with our tournament team, do more coaching than playing. But it's something that I've always enjoyed and always wanted to be a part of. And it's just, somebody said to me the other day, you look so happy when you're on the field. And I said, to be honest with you, it's funny. It's the happiest I think I ever am when I'm on a baseball field with my baseball family.
Yeah, not true.
It's just a special thing.
It is. So what led then to wanting to get involved in coaching?
That was actually not an intended path. I certainly...
Nor for me. So
I was going to keep playing forever. I still have that dream, although I'm being a little more realistic. I'm going to continue to play when I can and as I can. But a friend of mine had called and said that their school needed a softball coach at the last minute. She said, can you help me out? I'm working with the athletic director. We've got a few weeks till the season starts. If you can step in, I promise you it'll be fun. Just teach him some fundamentals. That segued into us meeting the baseball coaches. My friend Cody Dudley and I. She was more excited about coaching than I was. She convinced me to do it. I came on board initially as her assistant with no idea what high school coaching grinds were like. And certainly that was an eye-opener. She was far more enthusiastic than I was. But we ended up loving it and continued on. But what we started doing was going to see the baseball games after we finished with our softball practices. And so that led to a conversation with the head baseball coach. He said, hey, let's go have a beer. Let's go chat baseball. And at the end of the evening, he said, look, I'd like you to come on and be part of my staff. So we started as the JV head coaches and then eventually varsity staff. And then the last 2 years, been associate head coach at another high school in the area. So it's just kind of something that snowballed again. Snowball is my word of the day. Just watching it progress as I saw a different side of the game. And I think it's made me I've grown so much as a player and as a person coaching.
Yeah. So what was the initial response like from the boys when they showed up at that first practice or first team meeting?
So the boys were surprisingly open to it. There were definitely, there were some confused looks. Like, wait a second.
Are we in the right room?
Are the softball coaches coaching here? Like, are you just covering till the coach shows up? But it was actually some of the parents that were more surprised. A lot of comments initially that, things like, so what baseball experience do you have? Have you ever been on a baseball field? Do you, and we'd say, oh yes, we played for some time and we've been around, and they would say things like, but underhand pitching, right? And so the whole conversation, I play baseball. No, you mean softball. So it was kind of an evolution of that same thought process. But I would say that as we continued to have more conversations and as they watched us, they recognized we have been around the game for a while. And I think, yes, we had to earn some respect. And I think there was a lot of watching to see what we did and wondering, did they make that mistake because they're females who really haven't been around baseball at all? Right. Or are they, making those decisions as they go because they're learning the players? There's a different standard, I think.
Right.
So we're always kind of up against that a little bit.
Yeah. So how about when, is this your first year coaching in the Ripken Collegiate League?
Yes.
Okay, so how is that reaction, now at the college level? And again, they show up and, there's a female in the dugout.
It was very interesting to me because I wasn't sure what to expect. And I went into that initially saying, I reached out to the head coach and I said I wanted to spend some time with him, shadow him, learn from him, see it at the next level. And he said, look, then you need to come on board the staff full time. You can't just show up for a few days and shadow me. So I was super excited at the opportunity, but honestly was a little bit unsure, right? This was unfamiliar to me, and it's not just collegiately, these are some great players that are trying to really press and get a professional opportunity. So it has been, on my end, balancing the need to project confidence and assurance in my own baseball knowledge while also being willing to be humble and say, I'm probably the least experienced person in this room. Let me find ways to ask questions, but continue to make sure that my players have confidence in me. And I will say that we've had some great conversations. I think they were a little unsure at first, but Chris and his assistant coach, Coach Ty, have been phenomenal in setting the tone for the boys. And I think collectively they have all become more and more comfortable and maybe even been a little bit surprised. And again, I don't think it's intentional that their expectations were low.
Right.
But I think they just weren't sure what to expect.
Right. So when you asked him about shadowing, and his response was like, no, but you can do it. So was that a oh crap moment? that wasn't the answer I expected, or was a this is awesome moment, this is a huge opportunity? Or was it a mixture
it
of
was
both?
a combination. It was definitely a combination of, well, wait, what's involved in this? Because collegiate summer ball is every single day, and it's a grind. And I was trying to figure out, can I balance that with my high school season, which had been postponed due to COVID. And so we started late, finished late, and basically hit the ground running. So it was a combination. Short answer is a combination of trying to balance that. But ultimately I said, look, I love this game. This opportunity's come in front of me. I do believe some things happen for a reason, and you can choose to go through the door that's been open or stand outside and kind of peek around the corner. And I said, I just need to walk in the room and experience what's on the other side.
Yeah, I love that. So, how important is for you to see, women like, Rachel Balkovich coaching professional baseball, and, there's just so many that are, breaking those glass ceilings. I mean, what does that do for you as you look at your future of coaching?
It's huge to me because I feel like that door is starting to open. I do wonder sometimes at this point in my life what is going to end up happening for me personally. But the idea that those opportunities are now there. I would have loved for them to be available, 10 years ago when I was, finishing up grad school and looking for opportunities. But they're here now, and it's super exciting to me to see it, because whatever I end up doing on my personal path, the idea that those opportunities are going to be there for so many more women is really encouraging to me, and it just makes me feel like things are going in the right direction.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so let's shift a little bit back to this, to the BFA Nationals. So this is not your first tournament. It was beautiful that it wound up kind of in your backyard.
Yes.
So, walk me through a little bit of your first experience with BFA to today.
Well, gosh, what a difference. That first experience, we had our, I think it was it was our 11U group. We had not met them. I had reached out initially with DC Girls Baseball and said, look, we have this women's league. I read about you in the paper. Let's chat. Maybe we can work out volunteering to do some coaching or some clinics. That first year with them, they were still a relatively new organization. We had a couple of teams, and that was it. Fast forward 5 years later, we're sending teams at 19, 16, 14, two 12U teams, a 10U team. I mean, it's amazing to see the exponential growth, and also to see the tournament. I mean, tournament-wide, what I'm seeing, and I'm seeing such better fundamentals. I'm seeing so many girls involved that are playing regularly, right? Where this isn't just they came together to try baseball for the first time. And you're kind of seeing that wave of momentum continue. So I'm really encouraged that at this point in its development, it's exploded to this. And I'm hopeful that it will continue in that trajectory.
Yeah, that's cool. And facilities-wise,
I love this. I mean, Ripken baseball, I've always heard wonderful things about, but I just think, given the size of the tournament and how many teams and how many age groups are involved, this is phenomenal. And the staff here have been great. And I just think for the girls to have the opportunity to see everything kind of at one location. So our younger girls are going to watch our older girls. I had some of my 14s, my old 11s in our dugout today, working with me with some of my younger 12s. So that ability for them to see across the spectrum is huge.
Yeah, that's been a common thread to everyone I've spoken to, is just that how important it is to see the younger girls watching those older girls play, understanding they have not reached the top rung of the ladder yet.
Yes.
There's still more steps for them to.
Yes. And just getting to see that it's a thing, that they're not the only girl there.
Yeah.
Right.
So, one of the things this event does all the time is, they bring in players from the old All-American League. And, I know you hang out with some of them. I didn't, one of my podcasts this week was with Jeneane, and you told me that this got delayed because she kidnapped you one night. Seeing those women and knowing what they did in the 40s and 50s, and it's really almost unfathomable that they were playing baseball at that time of our history. So when you're sitting down with Jeneane, what is going through your mind?
I don't know sometimes if she realizes, when she was a little reflective the other night when we were chatting, and I don't know if she realizes what an impact she's had in her life. And, talking about some things in terms of her business achievements, and it was almost like I don't think you understand how much you mean to me, to a number of these girls here. Not just because of what you did, but the fact that she continues to be a visible symbol of it. That it, at her age, in her mid 80s, she's traveling to these events. She's encouraging the girls, and she's working so hard with the other alumni to ensure that there's still something here for them. And that is incredible to me. And she's a character. I absolutely adore her, and I think I met her, 15 years ago or more, and to have gotten to grow up and continue to count her among my friends as amazing.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I find remarkable about all those players is, I find myself to be a big baseball fan, and I'm very well versed in the history of our game. And it wasn't until the movie came out that I realized that women had played. So there was really a gap in history that they were completely forgotten. And yet, it seemed that once they finally were given the opportunity, man, they hit the ground running with both feet. And, again, to see them all out here, Maybelle Blair, 94 years old, and just
and
not slowing down. Yeah.
And just...
Shirley, it's just
that
incredible.
group of women has my utmost respect and admiration, and I love that they continue to be here for the girls, and they're truly passionate about it. They're not just here as figureheads. They're putting in the work, and they're continuing to do everything they can to ensure that their legacy lives on, but that these girls have a place to play.
Yeah, and that I've said that to every one of my podcasts with each of them, is that I've been able to notice when they're interacting with those younger girls, it's not just a show. It's genuine. They are present. They're listening. They're talking to them. Gloria was getting kids' numbers and was texting them.
I love it.
So it is so cool to see that they are fully present around those girls. And I guess, do you think any of your young players understand,
the gravity of
how big that, do they grasp it yet,
so.
or it will be 5-10 years down the road?
Some of the girls that met them at that first BFA know now and light up when they see them. So some of the girls that are now in the 16th and the 19th, I think, get it. We had Jeneane actually tracked me down, found me in our dugout, and I said, look, come sit in our dugout. And I asked, I said, if you have the time to talk to our girls, I think they understand that she's something very special. They understand a little bit about the league. I think it'll be years from now that they look at the photos that we took with her and really go, wow, these women were really special. And that league came at a very special time in history. I don't know that we'll ever see anything quite like it. I have hopes that there will be other women's leagues, whether they be collegiate club ball or semi-professional ball. But I hope that they recognize how special that is.
Yeah, and they are working on the league now. So, fingers crossed that comes to fruition, because I think it's something that is absolutely needed, without a doubt. And I think the other, underlying theme to every one of these podcasts I've done is that, I stress that this isn't a competition between baseball and softball. This is simply about choice.
Yes.
If a girl wants to play baseball, let her play baseball. If she wants to play softball, let her play softball. If she wants to go play something else, let her do it. Yes. So, because they're, in my journey through this, I've come across, there's some territorial issues there. So, what is your answer to those people who are saying you're taking girls away from softball?
It's very interesting because I've had this conversation multiple times with folks. It's tough because it feels like sometimes it's a small demographic. And when we can't all get on the same page, it's very difficult when there's some resistance to it. But I think, as you put it so eloquently, it's not about a competition between the two. Give the girls the option to play the sport that they want to play. One doesn't need to be a substitute for the other. Right? I want them to have the option and the opportunity, if they want to continue playing the sport, to do so and to do it at the higher level. And to not feel like they have to make a choice between, well, I am not going to have any opportunities to play this beyond a certain point, so I'm just going to go ahead and take the softball path because that's the established path with the opportunities.
Right.
So.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. So, anything else you want to add before we get to our final question? This has been a great conversation.
I have very much enjoyed it, and I'm glad we finally get to connect in person because I feel like for years we've been kind of just missing each other at the events. But no, I appreciate it, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about it, because I hope as people recognize that girls baseball and women's baseball is alive and well, more visibility means hopefully more people jump on board, and we have that choice that we're hoping to provide for the girls.
Yeah, and let's face it, I think the ultimate goal here is that someday this isn't a big deal.
Yes. It's
That
not a
an
novelty
all-girls, right, that
Yes.
an all-girls baseball tournament, right, is not a novelty, and
Yes.
it's not a big deal. Same thing with a woman coaching a men's team is not a big deal. It's funny, I had gotten into the debate over, women coaching in minor league and professional baseball, and I'm like, I don't understand your resistance, because women teach young men, men work for women. Like, what is the difference? If she's qualified, why
in
can't
every
you
other
teach
avenue.
the game?
Yes.
Right.
Can we simply go based on, do you have the skill set, the ability, the coaching skills
Right.
to be successful?
Yeah. So, again, we've come a long way. We've got
come a long
some
way.
work to do yet, but we're getting there. Progress is slow sometimes.
It is indeed, but as long as we're moving in the right direction.
That's right. So, brings us to our final question. Like I told you before, the subtitle of the podcast is Many Little People in Many Little Places, and it comes from a song by Michael Franti, where the opening lyrics are, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. So what are one of those little things that Jennifer's doing on a daily basis to help make the world a little bit better place?
It's really funny. I try to start my morning with a prayer, and I start with some gratitude. And it's not necessarily a religious thing as much as it's a spiritual thing. But I ask for the opportunity to leave the world a little better at the end of the day. I have lost some people very close to me, my brother, my best friend and mentor, who both passed away very young and within the last 10 years. And I learned from them how precious every day is. And I also learned from them how important it is to make the most of each day, to not get caught up in the little things, to recognize the gifts. If I can give some of that perspective to our girls, if I can get them to recognize that you have a choice every day with the attitude that you choose to present, that to me will hopefully carry on and create a better feeling in the world. And we started a nonprofit after our teammate, my friend and mentor, passed away. And the motto of that nonprofit was, it's not about how much you have, it's about what you choose to give. And the idea is that we each have that opportunity to make the world a little better. And it can be something as simple as you smile at someone, you greet them, you do something every day to leave the world a little better than you found it. I try to be humble, and I try to remember that on days when I'm struggling a little bit, lately, a lot of lack of sleep, be grateful for the gifts, be grateful for the opportunity to be living on a baseball field and, driving 120 miles back and, I hope that I can pass that on to my girls, and so that they will learn that without having to lose people special to them, or without having to get to a certain point in their life.
That's
The sooner
cool.
they recognize that, hopefully they'll leave things a little better for the rest of us.
That's a great answer. And then, not to get off topic, but to talk about that lack of sleep. So, did you expect a response from me when you sent that message last night, or was it that
100%
I'll send this
did
to him,
not.
he'll get it in the morning?
And I was thinking to myself, I really don't want to wake him up, but if I don't send this message now, there's no way I'm going to remember in the morning. So it was a bit of a late night. The doubleheader got pushed back because of some rain, so I thought I better just send it now, and hopefully he won't be too upset.
No, like I said, I was editing podcast, and it was like, who's that? I'm like, oh. And then I even thought, should I respond? Shouldn't I? And then I'm like, well, she's up. She said it to me. So
100%.
no big
Unfortunately,
deal. I'm editing, and I might have got less sleep than you did last night. So.
You probably did. I actually got to sleep in my own bed last night, so that was a nice change.
So, all right. So for everybody out there listening, be sure to check out my blogs and other podcasts at danclouser.com. And again, Jennifer, thanks a lot for taking the time. I know it was flexible in scheduling, but it all worked
appreciate your
out.
flexibility as I worked on a little carousel.
No problem. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely.